You found a coin on the ground. It could have been yesterday, it could have been last week, it could have been this morning. And I know exactly what happened next. You stopped, looked down, and something inside you said, "Pick it up." It was not reason. It was something deeper. And you picked it up, and now you are here. This is not a coincidence. This is not an algorithm. This is a sign. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you, based on neuroscience, on millenary spiritual traditions, and on real cases of ordinary people from Brazil, why this coin on the ground is the most powerful warning the universe can give you that the cycle of scarcity in your life has just been broken. If you are going through financial difficulty, if you feel that you work too much and receive too little, if the accounts never balance, stay with me until the end. What I'm going to reveal here can change the way you view every cent that crosses your path. And I tell you now, at the end of this video, I will teach you a simple 3-step technique that will reprogram the way your brain relates to money. A technique that any person can do, regardless of religion, financial situation, or level of education. But for this technique to work, you need to understand what I'm going to explain to you now, so do not skip any part. Before continuing, I need to ask you a question, and I want you to answer with sincerity, even if only to yourself. How many times in the last week have you thought about money with fear? Not with planning, not with strategy. With fear. Fear of not managing, fear of the card being declined, fear of reaching the end of the month and not having enough. If the answer is several times, you are not alone. A survey by Serasa from 2024 showed that more than 72 million Brazilians are in default. This is not just a number. This represents fathers and mothers who lose sleep, who postpone dreams, who shelve their own lives waiting for a day that never arrives. And the worst is not the debt itself. The worst is what the debt does inside, what scarcity does to your mind, to your body, to your energy. Because scarcity is not just a lack of money. Scarcity is a state, a mental, emotional, and yes, spiritual state. And here is where the coin on the ground enters the story in a way you do not expect. But before I explain to you what this coin really means, I need to show you what happens in your brain when you live in scarcity mode. Because without understanding this, the sign the universe is sending you will go unnoticed, as it probably already has dozens of times. There is a famous study conducted by researchers from Princeton and Harvard, published in the journal Science, which showed something disturbing. When a person is under constant financial stress, their functional IQ drops. It is not that they become less intelligent. It is that their brain is so busy trying to survive that there is no cognitive capacity left for anything else. The researchers compared it. It is as if the person lost the equivalent of an entire night of sleep every day. You know that feeling of being tired all the time, of not being able to think straight, of forgetting things, of feeling a mental fog that does not pass. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of faith. It is your brain operating at the limit because scarcity mode has hijacked your attention. Think with me. How many times did you go to sleep and keep running numbers in your head? The rent, the car installment, the child's school, the credit card. The body is lying down, but the mind is doing math. And the next day, you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep. The body did not rest because the brain did not stop. And then you drink coffee, swallow the anguish, and go to work. And you do it again, and again, and again, until one day you look in the mirror and do not recognize yourself. Until one day you realize it has been years since you truly laughed, that it has been months since you dreamed of something beautiful, that life has become an autopilot of survival. If you identified with this, I need you to know it is not your fault. You are not weak. You are operating within a system that was designed to keep you in that place. And here is the cruel detail. When the brain enters this mode, it begins to filter reality in a different way. It starts to see only threats, only lack, only problems. Opportunities may be there, right in front of you, but your brain literally cannot see them. It is as if you put on dark glasses that only show what is missing and hide everything that is available. And do you know what is even more impressive? This pattern repeats from generation to generation. Many people watching this video grew up hearing phrases like, "Money does not grow on trees," "The rich are all thieves," "We are poor, but we are honest. Do not mess with that. It is not for us." These phrases seem inoffensive, but they are programming. They enter the subconscious when we are children and stay there, operating in the background, like a virus in the operating system of your mind. And every time an opportunity appears, this old program runs and says, "This is not for you," and you obey, without even realizing that you obeyed. Now pay attention here, because this is the part that changes everything. What happens when you find a coin on the ground? Let us analyze, step by step, what happens inside you at that instant. First, something called your attention downward. In the midst of thousands of stimuli, in the middle of the day's rush, the thoughts, the worries, something made your gaze descend and find that coin. Second, you felt an impulse to pick it up. It was not a rational decision. It was something instinctive, almost automatic. Third, upon picking it up, you felt something. It may have been subtle, it may have been strong, but there was an emotional reaction. It could have been gratitude, it could have been a thought like, "Oops," a sign of luck. It could have even been shame for picking up a small coin from the ground. Whatever it was that you felt, that was pure information. That was your internal system reacting to a symbolic event. And it is here that science and spirituality meet in a beautiful way. Because in neurological terms, the act of finding something unexpected and good, however small it may be, activates the brain's reward system. It releases dopamine. And dopamine is not just the pleasure hormone, it is the hormone of positive expectation. When dopamine is released, your brain begins to pay attention to more good things. It begins to look for more opportunities. It is the exact opposite of scarcity mode. It is as if that little coin were a reset command. As if the universe said, "Hey, wake up, look down, pick this up, now look forward. There is more." If this content is making sense to you, if you are feeling that this video was made for you to hear today, leave your like now. This simple gesture helps this video reach other people who need to hear exactly this. And subscribe to the channel to continue receiving this type of content. Now let us go to the spiritual dimension, because this coin carries a meaning that goes far beyond neuroscience. In practically all the spiritual traditions of the world, the act of finding something on the ground is considered a sign of providence. In the Christian tradition, there is a principle that says, "He who is faithful in little will receive much." The coin on the ground is the little. It is the test. It is not about the value. A 5-cent coin or a 1 real coin is not going to pay your electricity bill. But your reaction to it will determine the frequency at which you are vibrating. When you despise the little, you are saying to the field of possibilities, "This is not enough. I do not accept it." And the field responds accordingly. When you welcome the little with gratitude, you are saying, "I recognize it, I receive it, I am open for more." And the field responds accordingly as well. In the African traditions that form the basis of much of Brazilian spirituality, such as candomblé and umbanda, coins on the ground are frequently interpreted as offerings that crossed your path, as signs from the guides and orixás that protection is active and that prosperity is on the way. It is not superstition. It is a symbolic reading of reality. It is a form of language between the visible and the invisible world. The Brazilian people, with all their rich ancestry, carry this wisdom in their DNA. Many of our grandparents knew this intuitively. They said, "A coin on the ground is money calling money." And it was not innocence, it was a sophisticated wisdom, disguised as simplicity. They understood, without needing any book, that the relationship with abundance begins in the micro. That despising a coin is despising the energy that the coin carries, and energy is not measured in nominal value. Energy is measured in intention. Think of your grandmother, your mother, or that aunt who kept every cent in a clay piggy bank. She did not do it out of avarice. She did it because she understood in her body, in her soul, that respecting the little is what opens the door to the much. And when you find a coin on the ground, this ancestral memory awakens inside you. It is as if your ancestors were whispering, "Pick it up, my child. It is for you. It is the beginning." In the Oriental tradition, especially in Buddhism and Taoism, finding something on the path without looking for it is called synchronicity, a term coined by the psychologist Carl Jung, who spent years studying the connection between apparently random events and the internal state of people. Jung concluded that there are no coincidences. What exists is a profound connection between your interior world and the events of the exterior world. When something changes inside, the signs appear outside. And the coin on the ground can be exactly that sign, the confirmation that something has already changed inside you, even if you have not yet realized it consciously. But I know what you're thinking. I know because I would also think it. You are thinking, fine, the speech is beautiful, but I need concrete results. I need to pay the bills. I need real money, not a sign. And I understand you. Completely. But here is where most people get stuck, because there is a fundamental difference between information and transformation. You can have all the information in the world about how to leave scarcity, but if your internal frequency remains programmed for scarcity, no information will work. It is like trying to run a new app on a cell phone with an old operating system. It does not work. First, you need to update the system, and updating the system begins with small signs. It begins with coins on the ground. Let me tell you a real story. Donna Marta, 58 years old, from Contagam, Minas Gerais, a cleaning worker in a hospital for 23 years. Donna Marta lived her whole life in a tight spot. She raised 3 children alone. Nothing was ever left over. She told me that she always found coins on the ground, but never gave them importance. She would kick them to the corner or leave them be. Until the day a co-worker said, "Marta, when the ground gives to you, you take it. This is God speaking." Donna Marta began to pick up every coin. She began to give thanks for each one. She began to keep them in a small jar. And she told me something I never forgot. It was not the money that changed. It was I who changed. When I began to respect every cent, I began to respect myself. I began to charge my value. I asked for a raise. I started selling cake on the weekends. Today I have my own house. The coin did not give the house to Donna Marta. The coin turned on something inside her that was already there, but was extinguished. And here I need to reveal to you something that few content creators will tell you because it takes work to explain. There is a concept in quantum physics called the observer effect. Simplifying in an accessible way, when you observe something, you change the behavior of that thing. Subatomic particles behave differently when they are observed. This is not theory. This was demonstrated in a laboratory. Now expand this idea to your life. When you begin to observe abundance, however small it may be, like a coin on the ground, like a lunch someone pays for you, like an unexpected promotion at the market, you are literally changing the field of possibilities around you. It is not magical thinking. It is physics applied to consciousness. Your gaze changes your reality. But attention, this works both ways. If you observe only scarcity, the field responds with more scarcity. If you complain about everything, if you say, "Nothing is ever left over," if you say, "It always goes wrong for me," you are programming the field to deliver exactly that to you. The word has power. Observation has power. Attention has power. And the coin on the ground is the simplest and most powerful training that exists to redirect your attention from lack to abundance. Now I want to give you something practical, because it is of no use to understand the concept if you do not know what to do with it. So here are 3 concrete steps that you can begin to apply today, now, from the moment this video ends. Step number 1. Never again pass by a coin on the ground without picking it up. It does not matter the value. It does not matter if people are watching. It does not matter if you are in a hurry. Pick it up. Upon picking it up, say mentally or in a low voice, "I receive, thank you, I am open for more." This takes 3 seconds. But in those 3 seconds, you are doing 3 things at the same time. You are breaking the pattern of contempt for the little, you are activating your brain's reward system, and you are sending a signal to the field that you are receptive. 3 seconds. 3 simultaneous reprogrammings. Step number 2. Create what I call the providence jar. Take a jar, a tin, a box, anything, and put there every coin you find on the ground, every bit of change left over, every cent that appears. It is not to be spent, it is to be observed. Because when the jar begins to fill, something happens in your mind. You begin to have visual evidence that abundance exists. The brain needs evidence. It does not change only with desire, it changes with proof. And that jar filling, coin by coin, is concrete proof that things are changing. Is it small? Yes, but it is real, and real beats illusion every time. I know a gentleman in Recife, so Antonio, 62 years old, retired, who began doing this after watching a video similar to this one. He sent me a message 6 months later saying that his jar already had 147 rays. 147 rays in coins and change. But the most important thing was not the value. It was what he told me afterward. My son, I spent my whole life thinking I was a man without luck. Now, every day I find proof that luck finds me. Everything changed. Not the jar. Me. So Antonio did not become rich with that jar, but he became rich with something that no money can buy, the certainty that he deserves to receive. Step number 3, and this is the most powerful of all. Change the story you tell about money. Pay attention to the words you use when you speak about your financial situation. Do you say, "I am broke"? Change it to, "I am building." Do you say, "Nothing is ever left over"? Change it to, "I am learning to manage better." Do you say, "This is not for me"? Change it to, "I am preparing myself for this." It is not lying. It is creating a narrative that allows movement. Because when you say, "I am broke," your mind accepts that as identity. And identity is the hardest thing to change. But when you say, "I am building," your mind understands that there is a process in progress. And process implies progress. And progress generates hope. And hope changes everything. A survey from the University of São Paulo showed that people who speak about their financial difficulties using process language, such as, "I am working on this," or "I am improving," present significantly lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, than people who use fixed identity language such as "I am poor" or "I am in debt." It seems subtle, but the difference is brutal. One phrase changes your body's chemistry. One phrase changes the way you make decisions. One phrase can be the difference between accepting that new job or refusing it out of fear. So to make it easier, I will give you concrete daily examples. When someone offers you something, instead of saying no, imagine, no need, say, "Thank you, I accept." When an opportunity appears and that internal voice says, "This is not for me," you answer out loud if necessary, "Why would it not be for me?" When the fear of the end of the month tightens, instead of panicking, you breathe deeply and say, "I have been through difficult months before and I am here. I will get through this one too." This is not toxic positivity. This is linguistic resilience. It is using the word as a tool of construction and not as a weapon of destruction against yourself. I know there are people watching now who are thinking, "But I have already tried everything, I have already prayed, I have already made promises, I have done everything and nothing works." I hear you, and I believe you. But let me ask you something. When you did all that, did you really believe it was going to work? Or deep down in that very low voice that only you hear, was there a part of you saying, "It will not work, it never does"? Because that is the saboteur. That is the old program running in the background. And it is more powerful than any prayer made with the mouth, but denied by the heart. I will explain to you how this saboteur works, because when you understand the mechanism, it loses power. When you were a child, your brain was like a sponge. Everything you heard, saw, and felt was absorbed without a filter. If your father arrived stressed from work and said, "This month it will not be enough," your infant brain registered, "Money equals stress." If your mother looked at a beautiful shop window and said, "That is for rich people, it is not for us," your brain registered, "Having beautiful things is not for me." These records become beliefs, and beliefs become automatic programs, and these programs run your whole life without you noticing. Every time a financial opportunity appears, the old program triggers, and what does it say? Exactly what your parents said, "It is not for you." Careful, it will go wrong. People like us do not get there. I am not saying this to blame your parents. They did the best they could with what they had. They were repeating the programs that their parents installed. And so it goes, generation after generation, in an invisible chain of scarcity that crosses entire families. But chains exist to be broken. And sometimes all it takes to break a chain of generations is a simple gesture, picking up a coin on the ground and saying, "Thank you, I accept. The coin on the ground invites you to start again. Not big, not with a grandiose plan, not with a magic formula, but with a small, honest, and repeated gesture. Pick up the coin. Give thanks. Keep it. Repeat. Day after day, until your subconscious begins to understand that something has changed. If you have reached this point, I need to tell you something very important. Most people who start this video do not reach this point, but you did. And that says a lot about you. It says that you are seeking something. It says that there exists within you a hunger for change that is greater than the fatigue, greater than the doubt, greater than the fear. And that hunger is sacred. Do not ignore it. Do not let this flame go out when the video ends and the routine returns. Write here in the comments, I received the sign. It may seem like nonsense, but when you write, you declare. And when you declare publicly, you create a commitment to yourself that is much harder to break. Write it there. I received the sign. I want to read your comment. Now to close, I want to tell you one last thing. There is an old proverb of uncertain origin that probably came from the oral traditions of the Hebrew people, which says, God gives walnuts to those who have no teeth. Most people interpret this as an injustice. God gives the wrong blessing to the wrong person, but the profound interpretation is different. The walnuts are the opportunity, and the teeth represent the capacity to receive. Many people ask for abundance, but they have no teeth. They have not developed the capacity to recognize, welcome, and multiply that which they receive. The coin on the ground is the training of the teeth. It is the simplest walnut that exists, and if you cannot receive a 10-cent coin with gratitude, how are you going to receive a 10,000 real opportunity? How are you going to receive the promotion, the new client, the business that will change your life? Everything starts small. The Amazon River, the largest river in the world by volume of water, begins with a tiny trickle of water high in the Peruvian Andes, a stream so thin that a child could step over it. But that stream does not give up. It continues. It finds other streams, and together they become something that no force on earth can stop. Your abundance begins like this, with a coin on the ground, with a thank you, with a choice to believe that you deserve more, with the decision to stop despising the little and start honoring every sign that life places in your path. You were chosen to see this video, not because I am special, not because this channel is special, but because there is a greater intelligence that organized every step that brought you here, the same intelligence that placed that coin in your path. The question is not whether the sign is real, the question is, what are you going to do with it? If this video touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Everyone knows someone who is going through a difficult moment. Send this video to that person. Sometimes content that arrives at the right time changes an entire life. Do not underestimate the power of sharing something that can light a lamp in someone's darkness. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Every week there is new content here that will help you reprogram your mind, align your energy, and build the life you deserve. Not the life they told you was possible, the life that your soul knows is real. Scarcity is dead. You found the coin. Now walk.